Next up, we've got House File 1989, Mohler's version in front of us.
No music? Where's the music?
Yeah, where is the music? We missed the boat on that one. Representative Mhler, please tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I do that, I have the DE4, and I'm wondering, are you ready for it?
Representative Mohler, first, if you want to move House File 1989, Mohler's version in front of us, then we can move to the DE.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I believe the motion is to refer this back to the Commerce Committee.
Correct. All right. So bill is in front of us. Representative Mhler, would you like to move the DE4?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right. Representative Mhler, please. I believe this is just an author's amendment to get it in the shape you would like, and then you'll speak to the bill after that. So all those in favor of the DE4, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. Representative Mhler, begin again.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. So the genesis of this bill was really my experience being a Swiftie and trying to get tickets to the Eras Tour. And it wasn't just me, obviously. There were a lot of people who had difficulties, who I think the amount of productivity in the U.S. that day with people trying to get tickets while they were at work or at school was probably really poor. And speaking to other people who had similar experiences, including folks who had set a limit on a budget, and then when they got to the end, they were finally excited to get in to the line and get their tickets, saw enormous fees that were tacked on to the price of the ticket. And for those of you who have purchased tickets in these ticketing platforms before, like Ticketmaster, you know that when you select a ticket, you often don't see those fees until you get to the very end, and then you have 2 minutes to make a decision or however much, or you're going to lose your spot. And so some of those practices really came to my attention as a result of this. There's been some federal discussion and movement on fairness in ticketing as well. And so I started working on this bill last year. And by the way, the number House File 1989 was actually not intentional, if you can believe that. It wasn't a total fluke, I'll just say that. But but we started working. I started working on this bill and realized that there were a lot of stakeholders that needed to be engaged in this discussion. So I did press pause on it last year. Senator Klein has been working with me on it, and we have talked to numerous stakeholders, not only the ticketing industry itself, but many different venues, all kinds of different entertainment aspects, and resellers, sports teams, all of that, and taken in a lot of feedback. So the DE4 reflects all of those conversations. And I'll just note, those conversations are ongoing. Many of these things affect things that'll go in the Commerce Committee when the bill goes back there. But just for those in the room who are here on this bill, they know we're still continuing to work on some of those aspects. But in general, the bill has the same consumer protections that we had when we presented it the first time. It has all-in pricing, so to make it clear that when you're purchasing a ticket, you know what the total cost of the ticket is up front, and not when you have a minute left to make a decision or lose your spot forever. It bans speculative ticketing. And that's the process where tickets go on sale before they're actually even offered to anyone else, or they're presented as being on sale, and those tickets aren't even available yet. So we're going to ban that. We're going to prevent misleading practices on resale sites that make the consumer think that they're buying it from, you know, the actual seller, the original seller. And I'll just note, too, that aspects of this bill have come from other states like Nevada and New York. But the section that is most relevant to this committee are the data provisions in subdivision 5. And this subdivision is allowing the Commissioner of Commerce to request information about the usage of illegal bots on these platforms. Those bots are illegal. We just want some information about when, we want Commerce to be able to get that information about when those types of bots are being used. It's civil investigative data. and the commissioner may share it with the Attorney General any not public data. So really that is what's before this committee, but I'm happy to answer questions about the bill. Thank you.
Right. Are there any members of the public wishing to testify on this bill? You would need to speak now. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to member discussion. Representative Niska, are you going to out yourself as a Swiftie?
Chair Becker Finn, no, I'm not planning to. I did have a fun encounter with my son who thought it was really funny when I was listening to Taylor Swift Essentials, just to understand what the big deal was about. For the record, I don't believe you that House File 1989 is unintentional, but we don't have to.
You'll never know who the mastermind is.
Yeah. Representative Mohler, my question for you is actually about something that it would be in this committee's jurisdiction, but appears absent, which is the private right of action in a previous version. And I just want to clarify, because is the intent that this is outside of the Attorney General 8.31 statute? And if maybe there should be some clarification about whether there is a private right of action in this bill through that. Because just if we passed it the way it is, I think there would be at least some ambiguity in our overall statutory scheme about that.
Representative Mohler.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for the question. So you might be aware of a Minnesota Supreme Court decision that came out at the end of 2023. It's called Finling versus Group Health Plan, and that opinion says that an individual can bring a private right of action under 831, the Attorney General section. So that's why we took it out of the bill after that decision came out. We believe that this does fall under the purview of Chapter 831 and then the civil right of action that goes along with that.
Somebody else has access to Westlaw. Representative Niska.
Thanks. That's very clarifying, because the way it's written, it's all about the Commissioner of Commerce, and so I was curious as to what the intent was from that perspective. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Oh, Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I saw this bill come and I'm like, oh my gosh. So as a fan of the world champion Kansas City Chiefs, had my fill of Swifties, okay? I've had my fill of let's just not take your eyes off the ball, literally, and focus it on Taylor Swift in the very expensive box so that she was always seated in. But anyway, I digress. So Section 5, I'm still trying to, I'm not a tech person, okay? So could you explain, like in layman's terms, what this bot stuff means in relation to this bill? And are other states, do other states have this kind of practice as well? Thank you.
Representative Scott, why do you got to be so mean? Representative Mohler, to the question about bots.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Scott, I can tolerate it. Sorry. To answer the second part of your question first, I'm not aware of other states that do this. One of the things that we were hearing is that bots are being used frequently on these platforms, and there are certainly technologies that the ticket sellers, the online marketplaces, are constantly trying to keep up with them and eliminate those bots. That's what we're told. But we're also been informed that it's rare that use of bots ever gets investigated, reported, anything like that. I think a lot of that might be coming from overseas. There might be certainly understandable reasons why that's hard to investigate or put an end to it, but we want someone to be able to figure out like who is using bots at least, or how often are they being used in these the online ticket marketplace. So that's really what we're trying to get at with this language.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Any further member discussion? Closing comments, Representative Mohler.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I think I'm done with the lyric references now, but I'll just say that whether you're a Taylor Swift fan or not, Or there's another artist you really want to see, or a sporting event like Caitlin Clark coming to play the Gophers next week. Regardless of what kinds of tickets you're trying to get, you as a consumer and all of Minnesotan consumers deserve transparency in that process and fairness in that process. And that's what we're trying to achieve. And hopefully you can support my bill and vote yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I know this is delicate, but there really is no bad blood. And with that, Representative Mohler renews her motion that House File 1989 be referred, as amended, be referred to the Committee on Commerce. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails.